Well, Texans, if you're feeling fresh, it's time to get ready for some big bass bites, excellent crappie fights, and catfish with quite the appetite.
And if you're on the coast, we're fishing croakers for trout and going deep with red snappers and some kingfish in the mix. So tune in because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we're back for another week of fishing on the lakes, inshore, offshore, and beyond. And you know, Rick, it is mid-July, and it's hotter than a honeymoon hotel out there. So every week, we're adjusting reports to help you find where the fish are. Am I right or am I right?
That is hot. I just want to say I've lost my train of thought, but what'd you say?
I just said we're adjusting reports to find the fish, which we always do every week. But,
every week we certainly do that.
All the captains and guides every week say it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. But every week it's a little different to try to adjust our fishing techniques, and
You're
that's
absolutely
what
right.
we're here for, right?
You know what? I think you're going to see that a lot of guys are going a little deeper, a lot earlier in the day. But we'll have to just see.
Set those alarm clocks. All right, well, Dave is always helpful with his tips. And since we just came back from ICAST, we'll be seeing a lot of new products over there at the workbench the next few weeks. So, Dave, what say you today about your product table?
Well, it was appropriate you guys were talking about the heat and everything, because today we're going to talk a little bit about going deeper, trying to get down to where those bass, they like to be comfortable, and we're going to try to go down there and make them uncomfortable.
There we go. Cool. I love it. I love how we're all in sync today. All right, we've got our Fish Bites Middle Coast Region Captain Bink Grimes with your trout and redfish report, along with what to expect for your offshore adventures. So, Bink, let's hear it.
Tides are the lowest of the summer, and we've been trying to find cooler water where the trout have been schooling. Guts and bows flowing to the deeper channels are holding fish on the outgoing tide. Even on the incoming tide, that southwest wind we've been having are holding up the currents. Until that high pressure moves off of us, we can expect more hot water temps and low tides. We've been dealing with 102 and 103 degree temperatures and water temperatures in the about 88 to 89 degrees. Guy Ging in East Matagorda Bay has been catching trout on plastics under corks and slow sinking plastics. He's tried that new Bass Assassin little PMV, and it's worked well under mid-coast corks. And Palacios, upper reaches of the bay like Tres Palacios, Caranqua have been good along the shorelines. Again, live shrimp under one of those Bass Assassins has been paying off. Port O'Connor's been fair for trout. Early morning action has been steady on the flats. Later, they found them in chest deep channels on Bass Assassins and Little Johns. We've been working those areas. I've got a few wade fishing trips trying to beat the heat this week, and we'll be in about thigh deep water early, and then we'll go to chest deep a little later, and those fish will be right out there in that cooler water. Rockport anglers have been tossing Texas custom corkies and soft tines along the sand and grass humps. Waders have been working up at chest deep water again on Bass Assassins in that Lydia Ann channel there. A few trout have come from the jetties up and down the middle coast. It's been kind of rough out there, but with all this high pressure on top of us, we have forecasts for calmer winds. We ought to have green tides out there and ought to find some trout this week. Redfish action's fair in Matagorda in the back lakes like Oyster Lake, Crab Lake, and Horse Trailer Lake. There's not much water back there, but a lot of those reds are hanging up towards the front in the bayous where it's draining. Don't be surprised to find those black drum as well. Shell Island's been good on the low tide with lots of black drum all over that shell. Pringle, Conti, and Showwater lakes around Port O'Connor making long drifts with live shrimp and small topwaters there. Then there's some monster redfish, as always, at Port O'Connor, Matagorda, Port Aransas, and Freeport jetty. Finger mullet, pogies gets the job done. A lot of big white shrimp on the beach as well. Our Gulf shrimp season opened a couple of days ago, and there's a lot of big old Charlie shrimp on the beach, and those redfish are eating them up. So that's been a good thing. Redfish photo there. They've been roaming the middle of East Matagorda Bay. We caught this one on a low tide. Our tides are about 2 foot below normal, so a lot of those fish are out in the middle where we drift for trout because they have to, because there's no water on the shorelines with all this high pressure. It really drops our tides. Offshore, Gulf water reached about 88 degrees this week, but winds have made it tough to take advantage. Seas have been running 3 to 6 foot. It's pretty sloppy out there. Some kingfish are beginning to show. Dorado are riding that weed line, and big shark action are good off the beach. If you can manage the rough seas, red snapper have been a given, even with those rough seas. Just really sloppy out there, but snapper to 20 pounds have been coming out there. So that calm weather generated a lot. This week should generate a whole lot more of offshore traffic. There's still a lot of tuna showing out there as well. We ask you just to be safe and courteous on the water and treat the bay like it's your own backyard. Catch and release is cool. Let them go and let those trout grow.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspot from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that the trout are good while wading reefs in East Matagorda Bay on mirror lure, sheep pups, and soft dines. And then if you're thinking about redfish, they're good in the guts and the bios along the jetty rocks on those shrimp, guys.
Let them go, let them grow. It's my favorite saying. All right, if you're in the lower fresh region, get ready to be schooled on Lake Falcon, Choke Canyon, Lake Bastrop, Travis, and Decker with your guide, Matt Reed. Matt, I hear we have some full bellies on Falcon.
Yeah, we're going to start off talking about Falcon. My bass down there are being a little bit contrary right now. We've got an unusual scenario going on. We've had a massive tilapia spawn, and there's about 1.5 to 2 inch long tilapia just covering the surface of the lake in the big portions of it. So, it's going to definitely help the lake in the long run. But these easy meals have made them, a little bit tougher to catch. All they have to do is breathe right now, and they're eating. But we're some soft plastic presentations, Texas rig, Carolina rig, big shaky head, in that 10 to 20 foot of water range on the rock you bit. Just keep after it, because the average size is really good. You could catch you a Falcon special on any cast. Mike Bates sent a report from Choke Canyon. As he reiterates, the weather has been extremely hot. Our highs have been in the 104 to 110 degree range lately, which is causing the lake level to fall. Fishing pressure is low because of the heat, so it makes it easy to find an area to fish. There's lots of open water. Early morning shallow bite has been really good. Buzz baits, frogs, chatterbaits, swim baits, and fluke-style baits have been most productive around the hydrilla early. His offshore bite is slowed down really slow. He still catch a big one out there every now and then, but it has slowed down a lot. Most people are fishing till noon and checking it in. Stay hydrated, drink plenty of fluids, and hopefully we get a little crack in the weather, in the next week or so. Brian Cotter sent a report from the Austin area. Lake Bastrop's fishing really good. Early in the discharge or schooling, you want to throw small top waters and jerk baits near the surface, or let a little small swim bait on a jig head fall through those surface schooling fish, and you might catch a bigger one under them. Working frogs or surface baits over the grass is also getting a few bites. Out in the middle of the lake, there's a few bigger ones schooling. You want to take a lead head with a little swim bait on it and let it fall through those, and that's your best chance to catch a big one on the deeper schoolies. Lake Travis fishing decent, catching some nice school fish in the mornings on top waters in the deep marinas and deeper coves. Later on, you want to move out and throw Texas rigs, out on those ledges. The fish are close to the shore, 5 to 10 feet off the bank, but where it's a vertical ledge down to 10 to 25 foot. The best bite is just dead sticking. Throw that soft plastic out there, let it hit the bottom, and try not to move it. Watch your line. It'll indicate when you get the bites. A lot of those fish are in the 4 to 6 pound class. One of the neat fish he's also picking up mixed in with that are some of the Guadalupe basses, which is, pretty much only found in that central Texas area. Lake Decker is fishing pretty good. I've been starting with frogs early in the morning on the shallow cover, shallow grass, any type of object in the water you can throw at. That could generate some exciting blow-ups. Later on, Texas rig worms move slowly around that offshore grass. Has been catching some good ones in the 3 to 6 pound class. Got 3 different bass picks there. That's one of them's a family with Brian Cotter had in his boat this week with a 4 or 5 pound fish. It's always neat to see when you got the whole crew out chasing them. Mm-hmm. Another is a Choke Canyon fish from Mike Bates, and that's Stacy with one of my Falcon specials down there from this week. So nice. You can still catch them in the heat if you get out there and chase them.
Yeah, you sure can.
They're worth it.
Tell us about the alligator gar, Pop.
The Falcon Lake alligator gar are on the prowl. That's just a neat species of freshwater fish. It makes me feel like I'm chasing a giant in the ocean. You know, hot weather and falling water has them off the channel edges in 3 to 10 feet of water. Catching these giants on rod and reel is so much fun. You know, Ram Reyes runs trips down there, and they're using big chunks of cut carp right now, or tilapia, under a cork, which will make a familiar sight for the saltwater guys. That's how it's working best at the minute. Right now, you want to, drift that bait. At night, they're most active. You can catch them in the day, but it's definitely better at the night. Come on down and have the experience of a lifetime battling one of these beasts. The blooming things jump like a tarpon. You just wouldn't believe it.
Oh, that sounds fun.
And that's a picture of one that caught recently with Ram and a whole family of smiles there.
Oh, how fun.
Wow, that's cool, dude. All right, man, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots. My man Matt says that Lake Falcon alligator gar are biting well. A big chunk of carp or tilapia under cork would lead to an unforgettable experience. A true giant is possible if you're looking for a different type of adventure. I'm always looking for a different type of adventure.
You are. Well, you're Sportsman's Adventures. We'd expect that from you. But those kids, that was an amazing catch for them. You could see it on their face.
Yeah.
I
I can't imagine catching something with armor-plated scales.
Ooh, that'd be
Cool.
a fun time. All right, well, our Upper Fresh Region guide is getting us on the water early this weekend, but first Dave Farrell is getting us rigged and ready for the workbench segment for
Going
rigging
deep.
techniques.
We're going deep.
Dave.
Going really deep. Everything I've got up here is made to fish deep. We're going to show you how to do it.
Atta boy.
Going
Here
deep.
we come.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, as you can tell, we're here at the workbench, and Dave is certainly ready with lots of rigs and techniques. So, Dave, we're going deep.
Well, it's hot,
Yeah.
as everybody knows. And when it's hot, the bass like to find comfortable temperatures. They're just like we are, like I said before. They like to be comfortable. They'll find the most consistent, coolest temperatures they can, and that usually means deeper water. And the great thing about that is usually you concentrate them, that we can see them on our sounder, concentrates them in the same places that some of the shallower places, but we're looking for the same sort of places in deeper water. It's kind of hard for guys to get used to fishing in deep water in a lot of places because, it's easy to pick a target on a shoreline and cast to it. It's natural for everybody to just want to flog the shorelines. But, the fish will be out deeper sometimes, and what you have to do is you have to learn to, instead of just cast into a spot on a shore, you end up trying to cast to a spot that's deep down, 20, 30, sometimes even 40 feet underneath you or out in front of you. So the key to that is you want to make sure, that when you're fishing that deep, that big open water, is to use your sounder to locate those good spots. You're looking for suspended fish or deep cover with bait fish suspended around it. You're looking for creek beds, ledges, places where two different types of bottom come together, like where the grass stops and the rocks or the sand starts in deep water. That's a good place to be fishing.
When I was with Matt, a road bed comes to mind.
Yes.
Where it drops off the road.
Right, a nice road bed or some place that. And a lot of these places that you find out there, don't get hammered like all the places on the shore, because it's a little harder to get your bait down there and keep it in that zone, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about. It's very important to keep your bait in that zone. If you're fishing in 40 feet of water, you might want that bait to be fishing at 35 feet. You don't want to be on the bottom a lot of times. Sometimes you do if the fish are hanging on the bottom, and we're going to be using some of these rigs we're going to talking about. you're going to be wanting it to be on the bottom. But even at the same time, if you're using something else that's moving, if we're trying to cover ground, if we're trying to find the fish first, when we're using something like a search bait or even a chatter bait or something like that, we don't need to have it right on the bottom. We can have it be cruising 3 or 4 or 5 feet up off the bottom, and the fish will come up off the bottom to eat those things. And that gives us a chance to cover ground, make sure that there's the fish, even though we might be marking something, that'll tell us that, hey, we get a bite, there might be fish here, and we can do that because we're covering ground and making long casts, to get the bait reach down there. Now we're going to start off down there with a Texas rig. I mean, this is a rig that, it's got Texas on it, so it's got to be a good rig, And this allows you to keep a soft plastic deep as you want to put a big weight on it, I think that's a 3/4 ounce weight. You can put a 1/2 ounce weight on there. You can put up to a 1 ounce weight on there if you want to.
Bass Assassin RSB.
A little RSB worm. You can use a fat job. You could use a tap out worm, whatever kind of worm you want to put on there. The longer the better. We're looking for big fish, right, when we're fishing that deep water. Now, a lot of guys will sometimes put a little tab on here, a sinker stopper or something, bobber stopper.
Bobber stopper.
Anything to peg the weight against the worm. Really not necessary unless you're going to be fishing in really deep cover, in my opinion. Now, next is a Carolina rig, and this is a rig that keeps the weight a good 2 feet, sometimes 3 feet, sometimes 4 feet away from the weight. If you're going to be fishing over real rocky places, you might want to keep your leader short between your weight and the bait, because you'll be able to hop it through the rocks a lot easier. If you have a longer leader, sometimes it'll drape behind the rock and you'll go to move it. Same way,
hung up.
Yeah, it'll get hung up. So if you're fishing in a little shorter, a tighter cover, you might want to keep your rig short. Here is the last one. Here is a nice one. Here it's a drop shot. Now, a lot of people use a drop shot when they're in finesse mode, but you don't really have to use it as a finesse bait. If you can fish in really deep water with a bigger worm with a drop shot. And what you really want you to do is you want to make sure that your worm is perpendicular. See how it stays right there? It's perpendicular.
Right.
You use a good knot so you can keep that perpendicular. Use a heavy weight. They make tungsten weights that are made for drop shots. A lot of them are. I like to use a big heavy one, and this penetrates really well into cover and keeps your worm above the cover. And when you just get that thing, and this allows you to drop right on top of your cover too, and keeps your bait in the zone a lot longer, instead of like crankbaits and stuff like that, where you're just whizzing through a search bait, where you're whizzing through the area where you want to fish. The drop shots and the Carolina rigs and all that stuff allows you to keep everything in a spot longer.
And remember,
Slower.
guys, big swim baits, big jig heads, big lipless crankbaits,
Yes.
big deep diving crankbaits.
Like the war pig,
all of that
yeah.
all applies, right, Brie?
Yeah, especially in our next region, and we're finding out how we're taking advantage of all the rain the Upper Fresh region has had with Mike McFarland. So Matt, let's get to some bass talk.
Hi, Brie. Hey, Captain. Yeah, we got some cool stuff for you. Talk about Ray Hubbard, bass fishing on Ray Hubbard with Joe Shipley, Texas Frenzy Bass Fishing Guide Service. Perfect that Dave's just talking about drop shotting, because that's the way to catch them at Hubbard right now. Drop shotting, red bug trick worms and watermelon red trick worms in the brush piles, 15 to 20 feet deep. You can also find some in the rock piles and the wind-blown rock piles. And there is actually a moving bait bite, too, in the deeper water with spinner baits. It's fair. Rattle trap's the same thing, your lipless baits, and the windy marina wave breaks. Wind's got to be blowing. Let's go to Lake Possum Kingdom with Pete Hernandez. Bass fishing there is still great. It's about the same as last week. Get on the water before the sun comes up. Topwater Bite on the Green Dock Lights is producing some really, really big bass before the sun. Once the sun's up, hit those ledges and rock piles near the docks that you were fishing with those lights. And the points, 15 to 25 feet of water has been the best target depth. 10 to 12-inch worms like the Bass Assassin Worm Assassin, or the 7.5-inch Bass Assassin Tap Out Texas rig. That's one of my favorites. I love the tap out. I love the big worm stuff. But you can also catch a few on the 3/4 and 1 ounce jigs. Your best colors on the worms are purple, plum, plum apple, or red shad, and then anything in the crawfish colors on your jigs. Moving on to Levon with Kerry Thorne. The black bass there are still being found in 1 to 20 feet. Same kind of stuff. Boat ramps, riprap, brush piles, any of those structures are your best areas. Your watermelon red Bass Assassin is a really good one. And then also the Bass Assassin 5-inch vapor shad on the Carolina rig on the flats. That's a good one. Really catching a lot of fish there. Terry also says there's a 1/2-ounce slow-rolled spinnerbait bite early in the morning, and some shallow crankbait bites there too. And just like Captain said, you swim jigs and stuff like that, don't out those just because you're offshore in the deep water. My favorite lake, and this is crazy now, but we keep having rain here at Lake Fork. This is where I guide, and the lake came up again, an additional 4 inches just last week. This has brought our bass back to the banks. So when they should be deep, right now the recent rains have brought us back up to 402.78, and there are really good frog bite fish being caught in the morning. Big fish on frogs, a lot of smaller fish being caught flipping and pitching around the shallow vegetation with little Texas rig worms and the colored June bug. But the big fish early are being caught on frogs. Once that sun's up, move out offshore, find those deep structures, the humps, the long points, and again, go back to your big worms, Texas rigged or shaky head, and those red shads, those plums, or watermelon candies. Those are your best colors. I got a rule of thumb when I'm offshore. I'll fish a spot very slow and very methodically, and I call it the 20-minute rule. If I'm not bit within 20 minutes, I move. If I'm bit any time in that 20 minutes, I restart the clock. And once again, too, the late afternoon evening bite is still offering the best big fish. Here's Bass Lady Brooke with a summer tank.
Nice.
Nice. You go, girl.
Yeah, she's awesome. Let's go crappie fishing with Lake Levon on Kerry Thorne. Crappie there are great. 1/16 ounce, 1/8 ounce jigs tipped with minnows are the best. You really need those minnows now in the summertime. He's finding them on structure in 9 to 20 feet, and the brush piles seem to be producing more keepers. Right here at Lake Fork with guide Jackie Wiggins, the crappie here kind of doing the same summer stuff. Lots of fish stacking up on laydowns, offshore trees, in brush piles, 14 to 24 feet depth range seems to be the best. But there are fish even all the way out in 20 to 35 on the trees. Minnows here on Fork are your best bet. And here's Jackie with a couple pictures of a table of crappie.
Nice.
Looks good.
How about some stripers? You ready for some striper action? Stripers on Levon. The white bass is really good on the main lake points, 10 to 20 feet. Again, you're using their white or chartreuse 1-ounce slabs. Tawakoni, things have slowed down. There are some hybrids there being caught. They're early schoolers on the points and flats, and there's a few bigger fish being caught in deeper water with the live bait or the shad. And of course, here's Matt Cartwright working it out, filling the table of happy clients with fish.
Per usual, every week. Love it.
Looking
Matt
good,
always
dude.
catches them. No matter how tough it is, Matt catches them. I love that guy.
Me too.
Got time for some catfish?
We got 20 seconds.
Let's do Lake Levon and Fork. If you'll just chum your spot the day before with a little sour mage, 18 to 28 feet of water, creek channels, come back the next day with some tough bait, you'll clean up and you'll fill your limits on channel catfish. Really appreciate you guys, man. That's my report for the week, and it's good talking with you.
All right,
Thanks,
bud.
Mike.
Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hotspots. Mike says, with the recent rains, Lake Fork has risen about 4 inches, firing off the shallow big bass bite. Frogs fished around wind-blown shallow vegetation in the morning hours has been awesome. The crappie fishing continues to be excellent, and the magnum white bass have shown up in large numbers on the offshore humps and ridges.
That's why you watch this show every week.
That's it. It's
Here
a
we go.
changing game all the time.
Yes, it is. All right, we've got a lot to talk about in the front runner boats, Upper Coast and STARTRON Middle Fresh regions, so stay hooked and we'll be right back. But remember, make sure to take a look at the QR code on your screen and scan it for an all-access pass to our social media outlets where you can like and follow our Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as see new fishing adventures, tips, and reports. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. Oh, and get yourself a pair of Bajios. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. Shallow Sport, the Texas legend. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. and pen. Let the battle begin.
Enjoy the water and your single-engine boat even more with the incredible control of Helmmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. Helmmaster EX packs the power of world-class control and automation that is changing the single and multi-engine boating experience forever. See Helmmaster EX in action at a Yamaha outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. You know, Brie, I went to one of the boat shows recently and I met up with my friend Lucy from Yamaha, and she showed me some really cool features that we have in new products. So let's check it out.
Let's see.
Hey guys, I'm here at the boat show and with me is Lucy Berg, the product specialist for Yamaha. Lucy, why don't you tell me about this 2.8 liter 200?
Rick, this motor is a workhorse and it has a solid customer base. It's known for its reliability and wide application.
So what are some of the upgrades that we've done to this 200?
Yamaha is beginning to bring those bigger offshore motor convenience features and confidence features for our boaters down the family line. So we've added integrated steering. That steering system works directly with Helmmaster EX, plug and play.
We also, just like we did on the 4.2 liter last year, we have the double click trim and tilt. So you simply double click up and it'll trim all the way up, double click down and it trims all the way down. Lucy, what size shaft lengths does this 200 come in?
This comes in 25 and 20 inch.
So guys, if you're thinking about repowering maybe a small center console, or you actually want to upgrade your bay boat, the amount of weight savings that you're going to have here can really make a huge difference because there is no shortcut in power when it comes to this. Let's talk a little bit about the warranty, Lucy. What do we got?
So this is your 3-year warranty from the time of warranty registration, but remember, you could always upgrade to an extra 2 years with our YES warranty, and that's done through your dealer.
So guys, if you have any questions, you can simply go to your local Yamaha dealer, or you can go to YamahaOutboards.com.
Well, you guys covered just about everything.
Yep, we certainly did.
Good job. All right, well, it's been hot in the Front Runner Boats Upper Coast region, but that ain't no excuse for no bites. So if the heat has you down, let's hear how Captain Carl Weston is keeping you cool. Hi, Carl.
Hey guys, well, hey, in the month of July here, we're catching some beautiful fish. It's really not going to cool you down, it's going to heat you up, but at the end of the night, you might get back in the AC. Like I said, these are some big trout we're catching right now. Just remember, guys, Rick and I talked about this earlier today. Let's keep with releasing some of these big females. This is really good for the fishery. I wanted to bring that up. If if it's the biggest fish you've ever caught, it's something, but just keep enough to eat, and we'll move on. But release some of these bigger fish so our kids will have something to catch. So over in Sabine Lake right now, one of the best kept secrets in the Upper Coast. Along the jetties right now, the incoming tide, those fish have moved all the way back into the marshes, all the way back into those backwater holes right now. This is the area where the smaller lakes and streams dump out into the rivers, guys. And man, it is a perfect spot for ambush, and that's what trout love to do. They patrol these points with the outgoing tide, flushing that bait right into them. Now, that's what we call an ambush for sure, and this is where you're going to catch your fish. Small shrimp and croakers on a popping cork is one of the greatest live baits to bring these fish out of hiding really quick. Bass Assassin 3-inch shrimp on a 1/4-ounce jig head is always my favorite. And as most tactics go, find the bait, you'll find the fish. The oil slick seagull sitting on the water prove. I mean, that's a dead giveaway the fish are there. And as the water gets cleaner this summer, and as it has more and more,
I've been adding about a 2-foot piece of fluorocarbon to hide the line, and this really will improve your hookup ratio. And today we have Mr. Manny with a really pretty trout.
That's nice. All right, what else you got for us?
Well, let's talk about black drum. Usually that bite drops off, but it really has picked up in the last few weeks. The water temp's up, 83 degrees, but it doesn't seem to bother the bite right now. So fish bites and crab flavor and blue crab have been my favorite. Black drum will feed on a variety of cut baits, guys, but the trick to find these fish, they can be sneaky. They like to get back in that backwater. On sunny days, you'll find them feeding back in the grass flats, in those little potholes in those areas. I go back to my old tried and true slip rig with these fish. I cut a 3-foot piece of diamond, 30-pound leader, tie it to a 5/0 or 6/0 trocar hook. I normally use a 3 to 5 ounce egg sinker. You're ready to go. Personally, I think the black drum, if they get over 4 to 6 pounds, they're not really great food fare. So once again, release them back for the future. But these fish put a great fight for light tackle. Really fun for the kids. Got a picture today of Miss Evelyn with a nice black drum. And we'll bump from there offshore, guys. Red snapper will keep with the theme. Still the season. The bite slowed a little bit there last week. I don't know if it was the water or the temp, but it's picked back up. We're catching bigger fish, a lot of them right now. Stick to, I would say, 100 to 160 foot range if you can. Seems to be the best size and quantity for me right now. I'm just simply using cut squid. Squid flavored bait has been our go-to for the big fish. Heavy jigs tipped with fish bites in pink has been a lot of fun on my old pin spinning combo. The bigger snapper will give you one heck of a fight on this light tackle. Here's a little trick too I've learned in the past few years is I chum a little bit when I'm right on the spot. I mark it, I chum a little bit. I let the boat drift off just a little bit now, and I'll hit the rodan. Say 50 feet, 60 feet, hit the rodan. That chum seems to bring some of the bigger fish closer to the boat, and that's exactly what you want. You can almost sight cast to some of these. We were talking about it last week. It's a lot of fun. Picture Mr. Charlie here today with a nice sized red snapper. He caught just like that near the top.
Nice.
Good
So,
tips.
bouncing over to grouper. Hey, this is something, a species we all like to catch, we all like to eat. Now, we're out deep. Structure is around you. You're fishing. This is the perfect time to look around on these rock piles, these old oil platforms, trash piles. This is where you're going to find a nice grouper. The deeper water grouper here in the upper coast would be, I would say, yellow edge, some of the deepest ranging 700 foot and deeper. Fish are found around structure and ledges near a drop-off. Yellow edge can grow up to over 30 pounds, and man, they're tasty, guys. This sweetness will pair great with a glass of tin cup at the end of the day. Really make it a nice day, okay? So let's stay on track. Let's head back into spots that are more shallow, and we'll target scamp and gag grouper in the 300 to 500 range. Targeting these fish in the grouper family. Also, we got the Warsaw grouper. Warsaw can reach up to 300 pounds. We catch them in depths as shallow as 160 feet, all the way out to 800 feet. And we always have our little strawberry grouper. We catch them on rock piles and structure in probably 100 to 200 foot of water. They're small, but they're really delicious. Baiting grouper will range, bait for grouper will range. We use a whole bonita, 3 to 4 pounds, which, Rick, for a Warsaw. Little piggies are good for your scamp, and then we'll go right down to little cut bait, like we talked about for the little strawberry grouper. And I have a picture today of my sister Jenny with a pretty little grouper. Look at the color on these things.
Nice.
Beautiful.
All right, bud. Thank you so much. We got to go. It's time for the Upper Coast Region hotspots. Carl says that we're going to make sure we go inshore. We're going to target trout and toss a 3-inch bass, sass, and shrimp along the shell reefs on a yellow jig head, and then offshore, closing in on the red snapper spots. Use your Rodan trolling motor above the bottom structure. Drop down a slip sinker rig to the bottom, tipped with some fish bites and maybe a chunk of squid.
I love how FISHBITES is so successful for them up there. All right, well, things are looking good in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region, especially on Sam Rayburn and Richland Chambers. So let's find out where the fish are and what we got to do to catch them. Go for it, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, we're kind of in that typical summertime phase now. Things have really kind of settled into that hot summertime period. But that can be a fun time. It's not all bad yet. It's hot, but if you focus on the right times and the right places, you can sure go out there and catch them and have a good time. And we're going to start this week talking about how to do that with the largemouth bass. We're going to start up at Richland Chambers. Mr. Thurman Selman up there, I tell you what, he's always keeping us informed on what the bass are doing no matter what the conditions are throughout the season. And he says that right now Chambers is about 0.27 feet low and the water's pretty clear. He says that the temperature's hanging in the upper 80s and the bass are staying out near the creek channels and they're using the timber for cover. He says put those bass fast and soft plastics up in that timber, fish them slowly through the timber, and that's the ticket for catching them right now. So pretty standard stuff there for the summertime. Moving on down to Toledo Bend. The water level here has been on a very slow fall. They are generating water through the dam most days, but not every day, so it's falling fairly slowly. So it's coming on down now. It's about 1.5 feet below full level, and our temperature is holding in the upper 80s here as well. Even touching the low 90s on the water temperature some days, especially if they're not generating. Now, the fish are feeding in the shallow areas close to deep water. You got to have that deep water close by. That's key. Early in the morning and then late in the evenings as well. Or overnight, that can be a good pattern also if you're fishing at nighttime. Now, the areas that you're going to want to key in here is going to be especially the areas that have the good hydrilla grass, and you're going to want to deploy the shallow diving crankbait and worms for that pattern. Now, out deeper is where you're going to want to be in the middle of the day, out in about 15 to 25 feet of water. The bass are setting up around humps and creek bends, and crankbaits and worms are still the ticket out there. You just got to get down deeper with them. And this time of the year, the smaller worms and crankbaits are going to get you a lot of bites. But if you want the bigger fish, you're going to want to use those plus-size plugs and those big worms like that Bass Pass an 11-inch, or even a jig is a good one for catching the bigger fish right now. Now, hopping over to Sam Rayburn, the water level there is also slowly falling. That's kind of the trend right now. The lakes are coming down. It's about 1.5 feet below full pool as well, and the temperature's once again holding in the upper 80s. Bass on Rayburn are also feeding shallow in the mornings around the hydrilla, and then they're biting the top water bait, worked over that grass early and late, and then the bigger fish are going to be out on the points and humps out deeper with crankbaits and Carolina rigs is what you're going to want to fish for them. Now I'm going to change species, starting with crappie, and I'm going to stick with Sam Rayburn here for a minute because Big Sam has really been hot for the crappie lately. They're catching them really good over there. The fish have really ganged up in that 15 to 25 feet of water. Jigs and minnows are both working really well for catching them, so pick your poison. And they're suspended out around the trees and the bridge pilings, so they're not too hard to find. Toledo Bend has produced a lot of good size crappie lately, but unfortunately the numbers have not been as good as we'd like. The fish are holding around 20 to 30 feet of water around the timber and the bridge pilings here as well. Live minnows have been the better bait this week, with a few coming on the Panfish Assassin Tiny Shad in the monkey milk color. I've got a photo for you of the Doucette family showing off some of those big slabs. And I want you to notice down the lower left of that photo, that sea sucker cup holder on the inner wall of my pontoon boat there. I tell you what, that has been an awesome addition to the pontoon, and they're great on any boat. They work amazingly well by suctioning to the inner wall of that pontoon, and they hold solid as a rock. No need to put any screws in the boat anymore. They just hold right there, and it stays on really well even in rough water. I haven't had it come loose at all. It's been great.
Quickly on the white bass, bub.
Finish up with the white bass real quick. Starting up on Richland Chambers on the white bass. Mr. Thurman mentioned that the white bass there are schooling early in the morning on the lower end of Chambers all the way down to the dam. And when those white bass are schooling, you can catch them on almost anything that resembles a shad. But I tell you what, that Berkeley crankbait really makes it easy. Just throw it right and crank it back right through the school, and you'll catch a bunch. Sometimes even two at once. And Lake Livingston, always a good place for the white bass. And I'm hearing that the bite is excellent down there right now. They're catching them near the lower end of the lake there as well, but they aren't catching them on top. I'm hearing mostly that they're down on the bottom, and they're jigging them up with heavy 3/4 ounce slab spoons off the bottom, and chartreuse and white colors. And that's it. I'm going to let you guys have it for the weekend.
All right, bub. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspot from the Middle Fresh region. Our man says largemouth bass are biting in shallows early and out deeper on the humps and points when the sun is up, and then the crappie are hot on Sam Rayburn and 15 to 25 feet on minnows and jigs. White bass are feeding heavily in the morning on the lower end of Richland Chambers and also on Livingston.
All right, the lower coast region is more than ready to get you reeling, but first, Dave is all jacked up on iCast juice, ready to wow you with some Taco Marine new
Jacked up on
product.
iCast juice.
You like
Look-
that?
look at
So is he.
Yeah, we got the dichotomy right here. Is
Oh,
it
yeah.
big and little?
Someone's all jacked up. It's not you, Dave.
Nope.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Island Lures, tournament tackle. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miro lure. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about using dual poles. Now guys, I love the fact that with dual poles, I can create total boat control. Now when I approach a dock, or if I approach a point or an oyster bar, everything is in the angle of my cast in most fishing conditions. So what I try to do is understand exactly the presentation that I want to make with my lure and set the boat up by so doing that. So what ends up happening is we can approach a dock, we can approach that oyster bar, and I'm going to put the boat so that I can compensate for the wind as well as the current. And dual poles allow me to do that. Most of the time, if you have a single pole, you're always going to drift down current or even downwind, or the wind might blow you across the current. So you don't have the total control that you have with duals. So keep that in mind, that with duals, you're going to have the total boat control, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week. Well, we're here at the workbench, and it's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine's new product, Dave. And speaking of trolling,
Yes, look at this monster. It's the realistic flying fish lure. A really cool lure from Savage Gears. Their Savage Gears BFT Flyer. They take a 3D scan of a real flying fish to make this thing. It is very realistic. It's got a really cool line through system at the right here at the top.
Right.
So that even if he bites the end at the end back there, he's going to get hooked up there. It's got a PVC body, semi-soft wings, super strong rigging on there, and it's replaceable as well, removable. An additional set of wings comes with it. Also another set of little bands that helps you rig it up there. And like you said before, it's rigged to either be trolled or you can put that little band up in the front and fly it off a kite, which I imagine would be awesome for a big tuna or a big blue marlin or whatever. It's got a 16-inch body and a 16-inch wingspan. And although that might sound like a lot, a 100-pound marlin can eat a 10-pound bait.
Right.
So that could easily go down a 100-pound marlin's gullet. So
no doubt.
No problem at all. SavageGear.com to get you one of those.
I'm going to take this to Fish with Chad, and we'll report back what happens to it. That's why I had to put it on here before we took it.
I know, it might not make it back. We're going to do we'll go ahead and stay with the Savage Gear there and do the Panic Popper. This is a popper that's made for big predatory game fish, big yellowfin tunas, big Cubera snappers, big Warsaw groupers, whatever you can get up to the top and eat that thing. Heavy duty hardware on there. It can withstand 120 pounds of pressure. Max casting distance. It's got nice weights in there that slide when you throw it. 4X hooks. That one is the 195 millimeter. They make a 135 and a 165 and a 95, a little inshore one. The 195 millimeter is 7.5 inches, 4 ounces. And they come in a wide variety of colors. I bet I'm
going to be able to throw this thing a mile with 65-pound braid on an 8-foot Fenwick rod.
Yes.
Come on.
Hang on when the tuna eats it.
Yes,
sir. It's going to be a long time. All right. Next, we're going to go with the Sea Sucker. This is the line and hose hook. Eliminates extra lines hanging around. Great place to hang loose ropes, cords, backpack even, whatever. 4.5-inch sea sucker on the back, 120 pounds, pull pressure on it. They got the 2 hooks that come off and the integrated cleat there. You don't need to drill a hole. You can put that wherever you want to put it on a flat surface.
I love this because my wash down hose on the Pathfinder, I'm always stepping on
Right.
it. Well, now I got a new toy as
Wrap
of
it
right
up.
now.
Wrap
Sea
it
sucker
up.
taking me away.
Next, we have the TH Marine Banshee Alarm Padlock. And this is a padlock that's got a couple little batteries in it. And when you shock it or move it too much, it screams like a Banshee. That's why it's called the Banshees. 110 decibels. You know, it can be deactivated or activated, however you want to do it. Fits most trailer couplers, and you know, we'll save your stuff. Makes a really, really loud noise if anybody messes with it. Go to thmarinesupplies.com to get that.
I think
cool.
I'm going to try this.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to be the one screaming like a banshee if I lose a key.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's a special key. MirrorLure Skin Series. This is the CI's Mirrodine XL. I'm a huge fan of all the Mirrodines. I think they're some of the best baits you can use. This is a suspending twitch bait. Has a nice wide flash and will work side to side if you twitch it. It's got the extra strong hooks on there. You can take a peek. You won't be pulling those off and putting other ones on. 3D clear eyes. It's 3 1/8 inches long, 9/16 ounce, almost a half ounce. Comes in natural bait fish patterns. If you look on there, it looks like they take a picture and put it right on the fish. They look really, really good.
Sure
Snook,
does.
trout, redfish, everything will eat that. If it eats a little
Bass.
pilcher, yeah, bass, anything will eat it. Go to shopmirrorlure.com.
I'm ready to eat it.
I'm starving. I'll eat that thing.
All right, new products providing over there at the workbench. All right, inshore and offshore in the lower coast region are proving to be pretty darn productive, especially with the guidance from Captain Chad Kinney. It was great seeing you at ICAST, Chad.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was a great show. Thanks for having me out there on that one, and I'm looking forward to fishing with Rick. We're doing a Port Mansfield fishing tournament coming up at the end of this month. We're going to do some filming. It's kind of a family event, family tournament. Been fishing it for 40 years plus. And so Ridge is coming down, Murphy, and my daughters get to fish, so we're going to have some good stuff, and we'll get some reports after that one. But speaking about reports, we'll start with inshore. Trout fishing remains good, really good actually here in the lower coast. You know, deeper grass beds, we've been talking about that. Deeper grass beds in that 4 to 5 foot of water. Redfish are around Gaswell Flats and Cullen House out of South Padre Island. The trout we've been talking about, they're still remaining good in that deeper drop-offs, ICW, deeper grass beds, still in that 4 to 5 foot of water. Live croaker is still working really good on this stuff for the live bait. Early mornings are working good if you're in that 4 to 5 foot of grass beds. Throw those top water, the MirrorLure Top Dog Junior out, and soft plastics if you're working those sand pockets and grass beds. Try some saltwater assassin sea shad with an Eagle Claw 1/8 ounce jig head and work the grass beds and sand pockets. So when you're working this 4 to 5 foot of water, don't retrieve it like you're in the flats on 1 to 2 foot that we got down here. You got to actually let it go down, kind of feel the grass, bump it through that sand pocket. That's where they're going to be biting. They're kind of on the lower end of that. There's plenty of undersized fish. You're going to have a lot of action and stuff like that. And our slot size is still 17 to 23 inch on the trout. So you'll get some of those also. And as far as water stuff, look for clarity early in the morning. The wind's not blowing as hard. Later in the afternoon, it's been blowing hard, but it's going to calm down later in the season. But look for some good color changes, some trout green water, any trout slicks popping up early in the AM. When you start seeing that, just go ahead and start making some drifts through there or do some wade fishing there. Redfish have been around Gaswell Flats and Cullen House out of South Padre. If you're up shallow, you would switch over to like a paddle tail or some gold spoons. Retrieve it faster than normal if you would. Instead of the 4 to 5 kind of retrieve it probably double as fast. Try to almost take it away from them, and they'll chase and hit it. If you're a little deeper, then when the fish start falling off later in the day, then switch over to the saltwater assassin soft plastic, and then use it slower retrieve, like I mentioned, the grass beds and the sand pockets there. There's a lot of fish in that 17, 18 inch range, and there's been some keepers, of course, in that 20 to 28 inch range, but there's some really good action. The fish are up really shallow early, and then they'll follow that bait off deeper in the morning, so kind of depends what time of day you're fishing, of course, but start up early and then work out deeper later on. Make long drifts or power pole down and make some really long waves to be productive on that. Offshore snapper fishing, it's just a go-to down here. It's excellent, and there's been some kingfish showing up along structure and color changes out there from the jetties out to 150, 200 foot of water. The snapper fishing is always good right here in state and federal waters. And you can look for plenty of fish in that 110, 150 foot of water. An Eagle Trocar jig, you can drop that right down like 30, 70 foot below the boat, kind of find out where those fish are at and start really putting the hammer on them. You can attach a fish bite on that jig head to really help with the scent. It makes a big difference. You can actually kind of maybe cut like a little split right down the middle and make it a little feathery, like a tail on there. Make drifts and see how far the snapper will follow you. Every day is kind of different. The current will get there. So once you stop getting bites, just spin back around and reel back up, go back around, and repeat that drift, and you'll be really good shape. Remember, federal waters is open. It's 2 per person, 16-inch minimum. My favorite eating size is that 16 to 20-inch fish, and those really big ones you start catching out there, release them out there if they're in good shape, which normally they are. If you're up in that suspended column, release them out there because those are our big breeders. So the water temps are rising a bit, so we've been actually getting some kingfish to show up. We've been trolling some mirror lure divers and trying some savage hard baits. Also been working really good. I just got these in a couple weeks ago, and these are rigged really, really tough and they're impressive bait pulling up there. And then also catching. We've been trolling them 7.5 to 8 knots. We've been using a Penn 30 wide torque, which works really great. They're going to make a really hard run when they hit, so keep that line tight and make sure you be careful because they got really toothy critters. So you got to use a wire leader on those baits and make sure they don't break off. Water temperatures are better out deep. They're about 75 closer to the beach, and those bait balls are just starting to show up. So look for a better season moving on. Got a picture here of a savage lure with a kingfish we just popped on the Bam Bam.
Nice. All right, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats, hotspots from the lower coast region. Chad says that inshore, the trout bite still remains in 4 to 5 feet of water, and there's been some redfish around the Gaswell Flats and Cullinghouse out of South Padre. And then he says offshore, there's a great snapper action with some kingfish also showing up around the structure with the good color change.
Well, it sounds like you and Chad are about to have a fantastic time down there.
Anytime that Chad and I get together, it doesn't matter whether it's at the ranch and we're deer hunting or if he comes and we go to the house in the Bahamas.
Around the roulette table.
Or we're at ICAST, which just happened.
Right?
Yeah, we've had a lot of...
I saw a picture of him and Toby Keith.
Yeah. I was there
how about
too.
that?
We met Toby Keith. We saw him play a few songs. It was kind of like history was being made for me. It was amazing. And yep, it was a fun time.
He met Ridge, and Ridge is a little guy, and he says to Ridge, Ridge, are you a jockey? And Ridge says, no, I miss my calling. And he started singing, you should have been a cowboy.
That was amazing.
Cool moment for Ridge.
Yeah, for Ridge. For
Thank
all
you so
of us,
much,
really.
Toby. That was bad. I really think it was pretty awesome. We do that for my boys.
Yeah, it was
and my
really
girls.
cool. Yeah, it was amazing. Had so much fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the new products coming out from ICAST, and we'll see you next week. Bye.